Good morning, everyone. I'm Christine Barker, the Executive Director of FIRM. Earlier this year, we updated our name to be Fresno Immigrant and Refugee Ministries, and I'm here to preach today, so we'll see how that goes. We'll start off with the scripture for today, which comes from the lectionary. Jeremiah 18, and we're going to do verses 1 through 9. Are they on the screen? Maybe they'll be on the screen. Yeah, here we go. The word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord. Come, go down to the potter's house, and there I will let you hear my words. So I went down to the potter's house, and there he was, working at his wheel. The vessel he was making of clay was spoiled in the potter's hand, and he worked it into another vessel, as seemed good to him. Then the word of the Lord came to me. Can I not do with you, O house of Israel, just as this potter has done, says the Lord? Just like the clay in the potter's hand, so are you in my hand, O house of Israel. At one moment I may declare concerning a nation or a kingdom that I will pluck up and break down and destroy it. But if that nation, concerning which I have spoken, turns from its evil, I will change my mind about the disaster that I intended to bring on it. And at another moment, I may declare concerning a nation or a kingdom that I will build and plant it. The word of the Lord. So one of the things that is maybe different about being the executive director of FIRM is that I spend significantly more time, I think, than the average person thinking about nations rising and falling. When we work with refugees, we work with the aftermath of what happens when a nation falls. So when I, skipping ahead to the lectionary, saw this passage, I said, whew, are we sure? It kind of stopped me cold. Because I know enough about my own limits to know that I am not remotely qualified to presume to know the will of God as to attribute it to specific nations or specific points in time or specific realities that are happening across the world and domestically right now. I'm trained as a public administrator. That's my master's degree. But I do know, I do know what it feels like and what it can mean to be remade. What it means for beautiful plans to completely fall apart in super public ways and in the most private ways too. And I suspect many of you do too. When some of these Old Testament passages, I remain confused on what works in Old Testament accounting and what counts as enough to avert global disasters or wars. So we're going to leave all that to the side today. And what we're going to talk about is a couple things that I have learned over the past 18 years of accompanying refugees and accompanying the everyday people who suffer when nations fall apart, and also extraordinary people who have helped nations build over time, and because of these efforts, later become refugees when things fall apart. So there's three things I'm going to try real hard to cover in our time together today. One is what we can learn about resilience, both from clay and from refugees. I want to think about how communities, in a broader sense, can be planted and built, even beyond the ruins. And lastly, a few thoughts on where I feel Firm is being remade and how we as a collective community are being remade in these times. All right, so clay is fascinating. Clay comes from almost any earth there is. Some soil has more clay in it than others, but with enough time and patience, it can be drawn, clay itself can be drawn and sifted from almost any soil, using the sun, water, and some form of fabric to filter. And then once the clay particles themselves are separated from the sand and any organic matter, it can be mixed with water to make the clay that can be shaped. Once it is mixed, it can dry out. And then once it dries out, the process to make it workable again into the new shape is called to reclaim it, which I think is the most beautiful factoid I've learned on Google this whole week, month or so. And this process of becoming wet and being moldable and then drying out again into new shapes, this is indefinite. It can go on and on and on again until the process of firing turns clay into ceramic. And once you're fired, there's no going back. There's no remixing at that point in time. So when we look at this passage from Jeremiah, we don't really know what happened before Jeremiah showed up. We don't know what happened to the first vessel. We don't know if that was like the first vessel of the day that the potter had made, or the 10th, or the 100th. Maybe this was like the 10,000th vessel that the potter had made in his whole life. But maybe the potter had been at that particular vessel, let's call it a pitcher, for a while. Maybe he'd been working it and shaping it and growing it out and moving it in and hollowing it out and doing all the things that potters do until at the last minute he looked up and noticed some creeper staring at his window and his hand slipped and he had to start over. Could be, I don't know. We do know that Jeremiah didn't write down any sort of emotional reaction to this spoiling by the potter. Only the decision to start fresh with the same clay. Didn't throw the clay out, didn't just say, well, you know what, let's start over. Into something better and something that was more fit for that moment, for what was needed. I think if I was a potter and I had been working for a while and then my thing got spoiled, I would probably have a bigger reaction than nothing. So I think there's two sort of questions from the sort of first level of this reading that I want to share with you. One is like, how can we be more like the clay when we thought we were going to be a beautiful pitcher, and then at the last minute, that gets completely devastated and we get turned into like a bowl or something completely different instead? And then the second is, how can we be like this potter when things don't go the way we planned? Like, how can we accept and reshape the things that are in our control in reaction and response to the things that are outside of our control? And I think I am wearing the ring that I wear sometimes that was given to me by a woman who came as a refugee from Afghanistan not too long ago. And she is an incredible example to me of what it means to be remade. Her husband, she came with her husband and 2 daughters through Firm as a refugee over a year ago. And their first daughter had been lucky enough to get a seat on one of the evacuation planes when Afghanistan fell to the Taliban after the US pulled out. But the rest of them hadn't gotten seats on the plane, and so they had been sort of stuck and in waiting. They couldn't go back to Afghanistan. I think they were in Pakistan. And while they were in Pakistan, they found out that the dad actually had terminal cancer. And so he was getting treatment in Pakistan, and then his treatment had to pause in order for them to go through the process to come to the US. And so once they came to the US, they got reconnected with treatment, but the treatment didn't work. And he passed away, I want to say 6 months after arriving to the US. And we went to the house after he passed and visited with the wife, the mom. And it was in that conversation where she, with more grace than I can imagine, just gave thanks to the fact that her husband's sacrifice, both sacrifice in Afghanistan and suffering and passing, had gotten them to this place where all their daughters could be safe. And all their daughters could have access to education and access to work. And then she gave me this ring, actually, as a part of that conversation. And so she remains an example to me and an inspiration to me of adapting and building something beautiful, even as world after world after world falls apart. Because that was never the plan, right? None of this was the plan. And yet, women like her, people, find ways to be remade and to keep grace and to keep hope and to share love. And I think that is just one story of many of the things that refugees have taught me about resilience and about how to be reshaped and remade. What makes someone a refugee? There's like a technical definition. Someone outside of their country of birth who's unable to return due to legitimate fears of persecution or death, due to some part of who they are. Could be race, could be ethnicity, could be cultural group within the country, could be faith, could be political beliefs, or could be membership in a particular social group. And almost 70% of the world's refugees have fled only 5 countries: Afghanistan, Syria, Venezuela, Ukraine, and South Sudan. And the vast majority of these refugees only move one country over. Out of the 33 million true, designated, official, legit, however you want to call it, refugees in the world, most of them just move one country next door. Could be Poland, could be Pakistan, could be Iran, could be Lebanon, Colombia, Ethiopia. And these neighboring countries are the ones who host and welcome the vast majority of refugees that exist on the planet today. Even more people, about twice as many people in these countries and others, don't even get the chance to escape the borders. They are stuck internally displaced inside their country as it falls apart, and we call those internally displaced people. Whoop. Last year, the United States welcomed 100,000 refugees out of those 33 million people. And this year, the United States has stopped welcoming refugees altogether. FIRM, as an organization, has a beautiful history of a model of how do we build new communities, and how do we build communities of hope with new Americans. And we have seen what works and what makes us special, but also what works better than what we've seen a lot of other efforts, is we are uniquely interdenominational, we are uniquely intergenerational, and we are uniquely interethnic. Because one of the things that makes Fresno special and makes us as a wider community special is how we can create spaces for people to keep the most essential parts of who they are, the things that they were persecuted for, while belonging to something new, and while creating this diverse community that would not otherwise exist, except for all of the horrible things that came before. And so I think the Afghan community right now in Fresno has grown from about 150 people in the year 2020 to about another 150 came as a part of the evacuation, and now the community is over 1,000 people. And so I get to, and we get to, be a part of shaping what does the Fresno Afghan community look like, and what does it mean to build community across language, across ethnicity, bring in the rural folks with the city folks, with the northern folks, with the southern folks, with the eastern folks, with the western folks, to form a new way of being. And that is such an essential part of who we are as FIRM and what makes FIRM special and unique. Whew. All right. If you want to hear more, let me just pause real quick. If you want to hear more about what FIRM is up to, I am the guest at the Presbyterian Women gathering on Tuesday, so I will share more about specific programs there. Come join. And I will just say, and the other thing that I need to not forget before I close out this sermon is that we are having a fundraiser on October 10th at FIRM. There is no cost to attend. There will be delicious foods. It'll be like a series of appetizers and samples from all around the world, a delightful silent auction, and time to be together to celebrate all that FIRM is and does. So please join, no cost, it's a Friday. More information will come. Please come and give us money when you come, because it is a fundraiser. FIRM has grown a lot over the past 5 years since I've joined. Our budget this last year, we went from being barely a little over $1 million when I joined to over $4 million last year. Most of that is federal funding. Most of that is not going to exist beyond September 30th. And so we are at a really critical point in time as an organization where we are winnowing ourselves down to the clay and to the DNA that makes us who we are, and looking to see how we will be shaped into what comes next. We are also seeing the impacts of increased deportation against Southeast Asian Americans who came as refugees right now after 30 years, 40 years in this country. And we're also investing, and also everyone who's come in the last 5 years is going to lose access to public benefits within the next year. So even systems outside of FIRM are disappearing. And so we are already being shaped by that, and will continue to be. But one exciting thing that's coming is that we have spent this summer piloting an entrepreneurship program. And so this month, we have 4 new refugee businesses that are going to be launched. Donations from UPC and other churches and private supporters are how we are paying for the licenses for some of the ladies to start food businesses and to make sure that people are learning the legit way to start businesses in America, all the hoops, and knowing that they are supported through that. And we look forward to growing this work more into the future. What we need as an organization right now is always your prayers, always your prayers, always your support, and particular prayers for everyone who has been in the country 5 years or less as they lose eligibility for things that were promised to them when they came. Prayers for peace and stability in Afghanistan, Syria, Venezuela, Ukraine, and Sudan. And we need linkages to jobs. People need access to work so that they can continue to support their family as federal landscapes change. And prayers for all of the Southeast Asian American families that have already been separated and are living in fear of separation, of being sent back to the country that they had to flee so many years ago. So, we know there is deep and unimaginable suffering when nations break down and are destroyed. And we believe that God is with those suffering, and we are called to be too. And I think at least, the New Testament makes clear that God and Jesus are for everyone. And in God's kingdom, we speak all the languages of the world. We're only at 14 so far at Firm, but we believe we all belong together. And so, there's probably a better way to do this transition, but I'm just gonna do it straight out because I'm looking at the time. I'm gonna invite some members of the Lao congregation to come forward because we are gonna sing a song together that I learned many years ago. I actually think I learned this song in Lao first, but apparently it's really well known. I just missed it before this. So we're all gonna learn together some Lao vocabulary to what may be a familiar song. Some of you can come up here with the microphone, some of you can go with Anne. We got 2 microphones. We're gonna teach these words. This is not the legit Lao writing. This is the English approximation of legit Lao writing. So please forgive us, Lao folks who can write. Some of this, we're gonna teach the words to all of us. So, and then we're gonna sing it all together. Are you guys ready? All right. Okay. All right, so okay, so I'm just gonna tell you how it sounds to me. I'm gonna just say it, and then Tony's gonna correct my pronunciation if I accidentally say a bad word. Again, forgive me. And then we'll practice all together, and then we'll sing it all together in Lao, and then we'll sing it in English. Y'all ready? Yeah. Okay. So the first line is, Bien Jai Ka Pra Chao, right? Bien Jai Ka Pra Chao. Pra Chao is God, right? So, out of all the words to remember, Pra Chao is number 1. You got it? Okay. Then we go, Hai Tem Dui Gam Jing. Quam Jing. Sorry. Hai Tem Dui Quam Jing. Yeah? Okay. Let's try these two lines all together. Are you ready? Okay. Here, come on. Okay. Bien Jai Ka Pra Chao, Hai Tem Doi Quam Jing. Bien Jai Ka Pra Chao, Hai Pen Myen Pra Ong. So Myen. Muen. That's the hardest one for me.
เหมือน
Muen. Muen. Muen.
เหมือนพระ
Okay, next slide.
อ๋อ
Okay. Tanเป็น
ท่านเป็นผู้ปันข้าท่านเป็นผู้ปันข้าข้าเป็นเหมือนดินล้อมข้าและสร้างข้าข้าอ้อนวอนอธิษฐาน
Atitan.
อธิษฐาน is prayer
Another good word. Okay. You guys ready? All right, we're going to do it with some music this time. Okay? Oh, you'll find out. You'll recognize it once we do it in English.
yeah
I think. I didn't, but you will probably. Apparently it's quite famous. Okay, ready? We're good.
What's our language?
switch to English.
Change my heart, oh God, make it ever true. Change my heart, oh God, may I be like you. You are the potter, I am the clay. Mold me and make me, this is what I pray. Change my heart, oh God, make it ever true. Change my